An error occurred. Oh, hey everyone. Just trying to get LinkedIn working. All right, awesome. All right, welcome to the, I don't even know what number this is, but stately office hours. Laura is talking at a conference, so I'm going to be doing my best Laura impression and be absolutely terrible about it. But my name is David Khorshid. I am the founder of Stately, the creator of XState, and I guess, the host of this office hours. Again, terrible job, but sorry. Farzad?
Yeah, I'm Farzad. I'm an engineer at the Stately. I'm mainly focusing on the visual editor these days, and I'm the Wozniak of the Stately.
And
Hey
Kevin?
everyone, Kevin. I'm also doing engineering and working on some current and future features to come.
Yeah. So, since I'm pretty bad at hosting these things, we're going to keep this pretty short, but we do have a lot of things to share with you. We have been working on a lot of features, both front facing and internal features as well. And also, potentially preparing for a big launch, which we will tell you more about as it comes, in the future. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just show you a little bit of what we've been working on. So here I have an example machine. It's for a digital camera. I actually took this from there's this Boost state charts library that does state machines or it's not C#, it's in C++. But they have a lot of examples here, and so I just copied this example over for a digital camera. And but that's not relevant. The relevant part is we are going to be shipping soon in improvements for pinch to zoom. So now, before it was, just a little bit jagged, as you could see, didn't really feel that natural. Now this one feels a lot more natural. So when you pinch the zoom, it's going to be really, really, really smooth about it. I'm not sure if you could see that in the broadcast, but it just feels a lot nicer, trust me. So let's see, something else that we're working on. You will see sometimes that it's not visible here, but you might see a new version alert, and that's going to be shown at the top of the screen. And so the reason that we've done that is because sometimes when we make a release, whether you're working in the VS Code extension or on the browser, you might have an old version of the UI that might not be compatible with our latest API. So that's why it's important for us to have a new version available banner. So whenever you see that, just click refresh. We promise that your machines are going to be kept, like if you make a new state or something and you reload, then everything is still going to be there. So don't worry about reloading. Everything is saved to local storage and also saved remotely periodically. So yeah, let's see. Also, there is a new this was a request. I don't know if it was frequently requested, but it is very useful. Let's say that you want to make a self transition. So that is a transition that goes from one state to itself. Right now it's a little bit awkward to do so. So for example, you have to do this, you have to find this part of the state, and then it ends up over here. Not really too natural. But now if you right click, you could just click add self transition, and it's going to add that self transition for you. So we're going to be adding more right click actions and quick actions for doing things like that. And if you have any suggestions for these kinds of things, then make sure to visit statelyai.canny.io and give your suggestions there. Let's see, another feature that we added, I'm just going to make a quick transition over here. Sometimes when you have after events, if you have something like 500 milliseconds, it's going to show as that. But before, when you had a large number, whether you're measuring in seconds or minutes or hours, it would show as an obscenely large number over here. And so Farzad worked on a change where now you could, I'm just going to enter a random number here. It changes to a more human readable format. So if you wanted to know the exact number of milliseconds, it's over here. But now it's going to show a much friendlier time version over here. So in this case, we have 91 billion milliseconds equals 3.14 years. Yeah, so those were a few quick features. I'm sure I'm missing some.
Hey, David, just a quick question about the self transition. Right now, that's in addition. The right click is in addition to being able to drag.
Yes. So
you can
you
still do
could
the
drag.
dragging if you like that, or if you're
You
used to
could
that.
still do the drag, and we are going to improve the behavior of that. Increasing the click target, making it so that you could like just go to the edge to do a self transition. But for many users, it's easy to just right click, add a self transition, and do it there. And in general, we're going to be moving a lot more machine actions over to the actual canvas so that you wouldn't have to go to the right side as much. So just keep an eye out for those design updates. Another thing that we've been working on too, and this is currently under a feature flag, but I just wanted to show a preview of it, is that you could, if you have the feature flag enabled, you could list a project as public or unlisted. And so actually this is more relevant over here. If you right click and let me just zoom in, sorry about that. And you go to share, you could list a project as public or unlisted. And so the difference between these is if a project is public, it will appear in the discovery view. So you could see just a few examples over there. But if we have it as unlisted, then the project won't be visible in the discovery view, and neither will any of the machines on there, unless, of course, you own it. So if I open it up as a new user, then you're not going to be able to see those or open those unless you have the link. And so this applies to all of the machines within the same project. So before, if you have this feature flag enabled, making a machine unlisted or public will affect the project now instead of the individual machine. So the analogy you could think of for this is that machines are like files within a Git repo, and so the project is the repo. So you could set a project to public or private, and each of the machines will follow that visibility. Let's see, there's a few other features too. Oh yeah, so now we have enabled the ability to fork any public machine. So actually, I believe this is released to the public. So let's say that I go over here and I want to, actually this is my own machine, so of course I could fork it. Let's find another one. I'm going to go to the Discover page and let's check out this mobile purchase flow. Looks great. So let's say I want to like it and fork it. Now you could fork any of these machines and put it into one of your projects. So I'll just put it here for now. And so now you'll see that we have a little forked badge over here that shows that this has been forked from another project. And so, yeah.
Throwing an idea here, maybe, like how the forks and the upstream repositories work in GitHub, for example, or Git in general, we could kind of have a way to sync with the original machine that you fork from later on. Just an idea.
Yeah. And so that is a really fun problem to figure out. It's more around like
it includes diffing too, because you're gonna have to
yeah.
see what changed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are things that we do want to figure out. Like if the forks machine, or sorry, the original machine changes, then you do want to do a visual diff and see like, okay, how can I adapt that change to our machine? And so it's not like a GitHub diff where you could just use GitHub's or Git's diffing algorithm to just to make sure those merge nicely. This is more like with graphs. So I'm not sure if it will be more difficult or not. But it'll be a fun problem to figure out, like how to actually incorporate changes from the previous machine to your forked machine. So, all right, trying to think about, are there any other just quick updates that I've missed?
I think we talked about all the updates. Maybe we want to take a detour and talk about the JSON we were working on too.
Yeah, sure. So we could talk about that. Let me answer a question real quick. Daniel says, nice updates. Do you have any plans on improving the arrows and transitions? I find myself fighting the layout a lot to make it so that the arrows don't cross over lines or child states. And yes, we do have plans for that. In fact, I do have a PR in progress for that. So actually, I was trying to recreate this machine. So actually, let me just pull up a quick demo. But while I do that, Farzad, you could talk about the planned JSON view.
Sure. Yeah. So something that I've kind of worked on a little bit was we had this request in County that people wanted to see the JSON configuration out of the diagram they're building in the visual editor. And the JSON configuration, I mean that, like, by that I mean the exit state machine, the JSON configuration that you pass to create machine eventually. It would be nice to see that before copying over as JSON and pasting it somewhere else, like in your code or in Visualizer. That's why we're trying to build something as seeing the JSON configuration of the diagram you're building, maybe tweaking the design so that you can see the updates to the JSON, as you go along diagramming. So it's kind of like the same vibe as the bidirectional editing that you have with the VS Code extension right now, but all built into the browser in the web editor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we haven't nailed. I mean, like we're discussing different designs right now because there are some upcoming design updates to the entire editor project as well in the coming month. So we're trying to kind of merge these two work streams together and come up with a good baby out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I quickly want to talk about the current work on the edges. This is actually in a branch, which is why you saw a few errors earlier. It's because I was switching to a branch without restarting my dev server. Don't do that. But now you could see that it's actually pretty smart about just not intersecting states. And so we are working on improving this. Right now, it's going all over the place, and that's because there is actually an algorithm. It's actually sort of a state machine where it's trying to figure out the best path that takes the least number of turns, and that also allows you to not intersect any nodes. So, for example, if I put this one here and I start I'm going to copy and paste this, typing, you see how it moves over to the left side. And so if I do this, you could see it is intersecting a little bit, but that will be fixed. It tries to be smart about that and routes around. But again, we are working on improvements for this because the idea is that we should be able to predict the the kind of line that you would draw as a person, so that it doesn't intersect, or it produces the least amount of intersections for both the source and target state as well as the other states. And we do have to be careful about how we implement this, though, because you don't want it to end up looking like a very squiggly line trying to navigate a maze, because that's also not really helpful. So we also have ideas for just making lines transparent when they're not, selected, or even potentially having lines go behind the state nodes and only visible on top when you actually select them, just to reduce the amounts of visual noise. So we do have a lot of plans around that. And again, we would love your suggestions on Canny. All right. So other than that, I'll stop sharing my screen. Yesterday, I gave a presentation on the Learn with JSON show, so I really recommend you check that out because I showed some just an exciting experiment. It's nothing in production yet, but it's for if you have a state machine, whether you create it in the editor or in code, you should be able to take that and deploy that anywhere and have it basically run as a serverless workflow anywhere. And so in this case, we were using both planet scale and netlify edge functions to deploy that state machine workflow. And I also tweaked the visualizer a little bit so that you could see the state changes live and also go the other way around, so that when you interacted with the visualizer, it was sending events back to the workflow and propagating those changes live, so that two people could have the same visualizer connected to the same remote workflow open and see the changes happen in real time. So it was a really fun demo for me and Jason to work on. And so, yeah, I'll post the link in the show notes. All right. So, anything else?
We did a live stream on Monday. Yeah. David, you want to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. In fact, let me go ahead and pull up the link. We're going to be doing more of these. In fact, Farzad and I were talking about doing it today, but we had a live stream where let me share my screen again. We were building a resizable panel. And so that was a lot of fun. Show that over here. This was very impromptu. We had it on Monday. And so we really encourage you to watch it just because it was really fun going from all the steps from ideating and figuring out what is the best way to model this type of interaction where we have a draggable panel and to actually implementing it. And it was really cool because we did have a few people in the chat, one of whom informed us that like our modeling, our logic was a little bit off in terms of like the collapse states and the drag state. And so instead of having it as compound states, we instead opted to have it as parallel states, and that fixed the logic for that. So I was really thankful for that. And the end result was pretty cool as well. So yeah, I really recommend you check it out. And if you have any more ideas for live streams for us or examples that we could make, again, statelyai.canny.io, we do have an examples board with a lot of examples that we could work on. So please give your suggestions there. We'd love to hear it. And I will also put the link on the screen if I could find it. All right, there we go. So, yeah, are there other things I'm missing? Otherwise, this will be nice and short office hours.
Yeah, I guess
want to
so.
catch up on that live stream. You guys did that on Azad. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice, especially the moment that somebody in the chat told us that you can actually use a parallel states to model this better.
Yeah.
Kind of like a group collaboration.
I know, and it makes me really wish for a collaborative mode with the Stately editor. Just to give you an idea, especially even working on state machines within Stately, I wish that we could have like a machine that we're working on and we're collaborating on in real time, like just seeing multiple cursors, being able to comment on nodes. It's obviously an internal feature that we love, but also a feature that a lot of people have been asking for. So it is something that we're going to be working on later this year, next year. Yeah, so just keep an eye out for that. All right, and with that said, again, I'm terrible at hosting and even worse at ending meetings. So yeah, I really enjoy all of you joining us on the stream today. And I promise you next office hours will be a little bit more professional. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. Have a great Friday.
All right. Enjoy, everyone.